My sister and I were both set to marry on the same day, and our perpetually biased parents allowed me to choose my dowry first. A pair of exquisite gemstone earrings, valued at $2,300,000. A humble peachwood hairpin. Just when I thought my parents were finally showing me a modicum of favoritism, a cryptic message materialized in midair. The malicious female antagonist will undoubtedly choose the more expensive option, oblivious to the fact that those earrings are cursed relics, entwined with the vengeful spirit of a tragic soul. Should the antagonist don them, she will not only witness the apparition but will also be doomed to a lifetime of infertility. Our cherished heroine will receive the peachwood hairpin, and on the day of her marriage into the Gu family, the eldest son of the Gu family, plagued by malevolent spirits, will find solace in the protection of the hairpin. That very night, he will awaken, his health improving day by day, while our heroine will successfully bear twins, becoming the beloved of the entire family. Upon reading those ominous words, I did not hesitate to reach for the gemstone earrings. I have always believed that humans can be far more terrifying than ghosts. 1. Upon my selection of the exquisite earrings, a palpable sense of relief washed over my parents' faces. My sister, however, wore an expression of discontent, her eyes brimming with disdain for the peachwood hairpin. My mother, suppressing her underlying joy, feigned displeasure as she remarked, "I allowed you to choose first. And you indeed opted for the most expensive ones. These gemstone earrings are valued at $2,300,000. Let us see if you dare to claim we favor your sister again." Upon hearing this, I promptly extended the earrings back to them, realizing that their intent was merely to gauge my avarice rather than to genuinely bestow them upon me. It seemed prudent to return them to my sister, to avoid future reproaches. Just as she was about to receive them, my mother struck my arm sharply, exclaiming, "How can you be so ungrateful? There's no logic in exchanging dowries. Once you take them, they are yours." I scoffed inwardly at such theatricality, such talent for acting wasted outside the stage. Once their objective was fulfilled, my parents hastily concocted an excuse to send me away. I said nothing and departed with the earrings in hand. In the car, I reviewed the surveillance footage from home. As anticipated, my sister was in a fit of rage. "You clearly promised to gift me the earrings along with the peachwood hairpin. Why the sudden change?" she bellowed at our parents. How dare she claim the $2,300,000 gemstone earrings? They belong to me. My father hastily defended, "Dear daughter, did I not mention that the earrings must be stained with blood before the curse can be broken? We consulted a practitioner, and it turns out your sister has a strong constitution. All it takes is one significant injury to lift the curse, at which point we can easily reclaim them." My mother chimed in, "Those earrings carry a taint. The master warned that whoever wears them shall remain childless for life. Although you are marrying the eldest son of the Gu family, and she the second son, if she were to conceive before you, and the eldest remains in his slumber, your status would be perilously threatened." My sister, with a disdainful curl of her lip, picked up the peachwood hairpin and retorted, "Are you certain this trinket can rouse the eldest son of the Gu family? I promised the old matriarch that I would awaken him. If I fail, I shall be cast out, and you shall share the blame. Rest assured," she continued. "The master assured me that placing the peachwood hairpin upon someone afflicted by evil spirits will compel the spirits to retreat willingly. The eldest son has been in a stupor for over a year. It is undoubtedly due to possession." With this, my sister cradled the hairpin as if it were a treasure, her eyes gleaming with greed. "The position of matriarch of the Gu family shall be mine alone." Upon witnessing this, I quietly set down my phone and drove to a particular location. The dog breeding facility. I specifically chose a rabid dog. The owner looked puzzled, remarking that such a creature was beyond saving. It had killed many livestock and even dared to attack a dog trainer like himself, harboring rabies and unlikely to survive for more than 3 days. This was precisely the type of specimen I sought. After completing the transaction, I adorned the rabid dog's ear with the earrings. Suddenly, a chilling gust swept through the air. My previously skeptical disposition shifted as I truly grasped the essence of dread. Above the frenzied dog, a sinister spirit materialized, struggling futilely against its confines. In an instant, the dog broke free of its tether and dashed away. The facility owner, fearing for public safety, rushed after it with a stick. Not far off, a speeding truck barreled past, colliding with the dog and killing it instantly, blood saturating the ground and staining the earrings. In that fleeting moment, the spirit vanished completely. The surreal scene left me momentarily disoriented, unable to distinguish between reality and a dream. At that juncture, a new subtitle appeared in the air. Did the female antagonist inadvertently break the curse? Have we squandered a splendid opportunity for our cherished protagonist? How wicked is the female antagonist to exploit a dog to lift the curse? How could she be so heartless towards such a precious creature? Are those upstairs blind? This is a rabid dog, already destined for euthanasia. Besides, it was not the antagonist who caused its demise. 2. As I absorbed this, a shudder coursed through me, and tears streamed unbidden down my cheeks. My choice of the earrings was not solely to test the authenticity of the subtitles, but also for another reason. They were a cherished heirloom from my grandmother. When I was younger, she had shown them to me, saying, "When I depart this world, these earrings shall belong to you." However, you must remember, if your parents do not present the accompanying peachwood hairpin, you must never wear them unless the curse is lifted. Now that the curse was dispelled and the earrings restored to their former glory, I found no joy in the revelation. It was clear, they truly did not love me. With this realization weighing heavily on my heart, I hastened to another location. Tomorrow marked the day of my betrothal, and according to our customs, it is forbidden to meet one's fiancé the day before the wedding. Yet, I yearned to see him, even if only for a fleeting embrace. Outside the villa, just as I prepared to knock, a chorus of cheers erupted from within. "Give her another kiss." My heart sank. Immediately after, my fiancé, Gu Ling's voice resonated. "Let us not talk of another kiss. If Qian is willing to marry me, I could easily exchange her for a new bride tomorrow." His words struck me like a cold arrow, piercing my heart with agonizing clarity. Lin Qian playfully retorted, "What nonsense are you spouting? Are you truly willing to forsake your title as the heir of the Gu family for me?" Gu Ling fell silent, while those around them quickly shifted the topic, the atmosphere soon returning to joviality. Outside, my mind was blank. Gu Ling and I shared a bond forged in childhood. Unlike him, who was cast into obscurity as an illegitimate child, I had basked in my grandmother's affection, frolicking with friends in the mountains and rivers. Yet, during one fateful escapade, I fell into a river, and all those who had once played with me fled in terror, leaving me to drown. It was only Gu Ling who rushed in to save me. From that moment on, I followed him like a shadow for 15 years, until he fell for Lin Qian, the radiant belle of the university. For 4 years, he quietly watched over her, only to be cruelly mocked when he finally confessed his feelings. On that rainy day, I held him tightly as he drowned his sorrows in drink. It was then he first acknowledged me, saying, "You are all I have left." Not long after, we became a couple. 2 years ago, I saved the Gu couple from a car accident. In gratitude, they sought to unite me with their son. When Gu Ling learned of this, he erupted in anger. And it was then I discovered he was the illegitimate child of Gu's father. Through me, Gu's father learned of Gu Ling's existence. I know not how he persuaded Gu's mother, but soon Gu Ling was acknowledged by the family. With his talents, he quickly excelled in the position bestowed upon him by Gu's father, and it was then that he began to aspire to claim the title of heir, particularly after the eldest son of the Gu family fell into a coma. In merely 2 years, he transformed from a self-doubting outcast to the esteemed second son of the Gu family, forgetting his humble beginnings and the promises he once made to me. As I staggered away, ready to depart, the conversation inside continued. "You truly have suffered, but with your current status, what woman could you not have? To be compelled to marry a woman of modest lineage, what assistance could she possibly provide you?" The tone of that individual was laced with disdain and contempt. "Indeed, you are not like your brother, that frail wretch. He now lies in bed, akin to a living corpse, and regardless of whom he marries, it is merely for show. You, however, are the heir apparent of the Gu family and must wed someone of considerable merit." Someone chimed in. "Is it possible that old Madame Gu is orchestrating this from behind the scenes? She likely fears that a woman of noble birth might overshadow her son." There were murmurs of suspicion. Gu Ling remained silent, seemingly acquiescing to this notion. At that moment, Lin Qian spoke with a tone of grievance. "Old Madame Gu is truly excessive. You are undoubtedly exceptional, deserving of someone far better. Yet she insists on forcing a woman of no consequence upon you, clearly demeaning you." Gu Ling appeared to console her and, after a brief pause, remarked, "For now, I must endure this indignity. Once I secure my position within the Gu family, I shall promptly replace her." In that instant, fury coursed through my veins. causing me to tremble uncontrollably. His return to the Gu family was a result of my audacity in presenting demands to Gu Fu. Despite his lack of favor with Gu Mu, I regularly attended to the elder son of the Gu family, hoping to demonstrate our sincerity to her. When he encountered insurmountable challenges at Gu Group, I sought assistance far and wide, endeavoring to find solutions. Ultimately, I was met with the dismissive words, "I will replace her at the first opportunity." My rage induced a visceral nausea. Clutching my mouth, I fought back the urge to vomit and hastily fled. The following day, the simultaneous weddings of the two young masters of the Gu family should have been a joyous occasion, yet Gu Dashye remained in a state of unconsciousness, rendering the ceremony rather austere. In the Gu family's garden, Gu Mu was preoccupied not with the wedding, but with the pressing concern of her elder son's awakening. "You had better not be lying. I grant you 3 days. If my son does not awaken, you may take your leave." Gu Mu's demeanor towards my sister was frosty, her words sharp. My sister, wearing a facade of eagerness, assured her, "Rest assured, mother-in-law, once I step through this door, I shall be a member of the Gu family. Enough, go check on my son. Whether you can become a part of the Gu family hinges on whether he awakens." With a few curt sentences, Gu Mu dismissed her. I stood at a distance, awaiting my wedding, yet I had not changed into my bridal gown. Gu Mu turned and, upon seeing me, forced a smile, questioning why I had not yet donned my wedding attire. Her face bore the marks of fatigue, her eyes devoid of luster. In her relentless pursuit to rouse Gu Dashye, she had exhausted her efforts, consulting countless physicians and employing various rituals, yet her son remained ensnared in a deep slumber, as if his soul had been stolen. I retrieved my phone and played the recording from yesterday for her. As the audio concluded, she remained silent, until a voice emerged from behind me, the unmistakable tone of Gu Fu, "That ungrateful wretch. How could he treat you this way?" My eyes reddened, and with unwavering resolve, I declared, "Uncle, I shall not marry." To expedite the simultaneous wedding with Gu Dashye, Gu Ling had suggested we hold the ceremony first and then obtain the marriage certificate. Now, with my decision not to marry, there is no need for the ceremony, nor for the certificate. Everything shall proceed as he wishes. He need not wed a woman as ordinary as I. Gu Fu sighed softly, acknowledging that he had wronged me. If I refuse to marry, it is his misfortune. Gu Mu remained silent, but her expression was grim. Thus, the wedding was annulled. Upon learning of this, my parents immediately called me, but I did not answer. When my sister discovered from a servant about the second cancellation of the wedding, she stealthily left Gu Dashye's room to find me, a triumphant gleam in her eyes. "I never expected you would be expelled from the Gu family so soon. I had thought we could transition from sisters to sisters-in-law. You are utterly ineffectual. Now our parents need not worry about you conceiving before me." Her pride nearly led her to slip, and she quickly silenced herself, an anxious look crossing her face. I noticed the peachwood hairpin adorning her coiled bun, its brilliance already dimmed. Grandmother once mentioned that a peachwood hairpin and earrings were meant to be together. If the earrings are cursed, the hairpin would naturally lose its efficacy. My sister's dream of marrying into wealth would shatter in 3 days. I refrained from speaking ill of her, as it would only serve to fuel her belief that I envied her. I replied blandly, "May your dreams come true." My sister raised her chin, her eyes brimming with arrogance, and noticing I was not wearing the earrings, she provocatively remarked, "You do not believe that our parents gifted you the gemstone earrings as compensation, do you?" I feigned confusion, furrowing my brow. She smiled mysteriously, choosing not to continue discussing the earrings, instead gesturing towards the peachwood hairpin in her hair. "Just wait and see how I secure my position as the esteemed matriarch of the Gu family." I could not help but roll my eyes. She had come solely to revel in my misfortune, and after mocking me, she strutted away. At that moment, subtitles reappeared, proclaiming, "Our heroine is so formidable, she should confront the venomous antagonist like this. The earrings have been cursed, the peachwood hairpin has lost its potency. What shall the heroine do? Her connection with the male lead has only just begun. She cannot possibly be cast out of the Gu family like this, can she? Do you think our heroine has but a single course of action? No, she has already sought out a sorcerer. If the male lead does not awaken within 2 days, she will employ a curse upon him. The curse can extend his life and awaken him, though it bears consequences. If this is the manner of the grand heroine, I cannot endorse it." Just as I prepared to seek out Gu Mu, I was intercepted. It was Lin Onqian. She remained as stunning as in the past. Time had left no scars upon her visage, instead bestowing an air of elegance. She looked down upon me, stating, "I hear the second wedding has been cancelled. Have you been cast aside by Guling?" I regarded her quietly, devoid of malice or self-doubt. Her surprise at my calmness was evident as she furrowed her brow. "Have you truly abandoned Guling?" I nodded. "Guling is a treacherous wolf. In his most desperate hour, I remained steadfast, even aiding him in returning to the Gu family, yet he shows not an ounce of gratitude, viewing our marriage as a mere act of charity. Such a man instills in me a fear of an untimely demise in the future." Lin Anqian raised an eyebrow. "You are remarkably clear-headed." In truth, I harbor no animosity towards Lin Anqian. Rather, I hold a hidden gratitude for her. When I was a freshman, she was a sophomore. Already a renowned campus beauty, blessed with a prosperous background that attracted many suitors. While working part-time in the cafeteria, I was intentionally tripped, sending my meal tray crashing and splattering oil all over Lin Anqian, ruining her white dress. I was terrified, fearing I could not afford the damage, and knowing that a girl of her standing would likely be prone to bullying. To my astonishment, Lin Anqian retaliated against those who had sought to provoke me, never once demanding compensation. I felt a weight on my conscience and discreetly researched the cost of that dress, which was over 36,000. I contemplated covering the dry cleaning expenses in hopes of restoring it, but when I caught up to her car, I overheard her conversing with her brother. "This was the dress you had longed for. How could it be stained? Which wretch was responsible?" Her brother had a fiery temper. "A stain is but a stain. Pursuing her for it is futile. If she were to suffer such indignity, it would be better for her not to have to repay it." Because of this, I toiled through a summer job and gifted her a bracelet on her birthday, costing around 7,000 to 8,000. She never wore it, likely unaware it was from me, as countless others presented her with gifts. Lin Anqian looked down upon Gu Ling, yet she now found it imperative to curry favor with him. The Lin family's business had been struggling for years, necessitating a strategic marriage, and the Gu family, with its vast wealth, presented a promising opportunity. Should her gamble pay off and Gu Ling ascend as the next heir, she could potentially salvage the Lin family's fortunes. Understanding her motives, I never held it against her. My ire was solely directed at Gu Ling. I loathed his indifference, his lack of loyalty. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a call from Gu Ling. Upon seeing the caller ID, Lin Anqian discreetly excused herself. I answered the call and Gu Ling's anxious voice came through, questioning how the wedding was called off and where I was, insisting he was coming to find me. As the groom, he was the last to be informed. Listening to his voice stirred a torrent of emotions within me. When did that reckless youth, who once risked everything to rescue me from the river, transform into this calculating, self-serving opportunist? Noticing my silence, he began to probe, asking who had cancelled our wedding. Was it the matriarch of the Gu family? She had always despised my presence, viewing me as the unworthy illegitimate child, unfit to wed her son on the same day. Despite their limited encounters, Gu Ling constantly compared himself to his elder brother, striving to overshadow him at every turn. "You truly are despicable," I declared before abruptly ending the call. I had hoped those words would prompt some reflection, but as I crossed the garden, I spotted him in a corner of the greenhouse, engaged in another phone call. His demeanor, brimming with excitement, almost made me doubt my own vision. How splendid it must have seemed to him to evade marrying that woman. Since last night, he had been under immense pressure, repeatedly reassuring himself to avoid fleeing. Thankfully, fate had intervened, and he could finally cease his pretense. His tone was laced with barely contained exhilaration. I concealed myself nearby, faintly catching the voice on the other end, familiar, unmistakably that of Gu Ling's biological mother. After abandoning him in the countryside, she had only returned sporadically, never raising him. That task had fallen to Gu Ling's grandmother. In recent years, upon returning to the Gu family, Gu Ling's mother had only one demand, that Gu Ling sever all ties with her. He had insisted he had cut off all relations, yet here they were, evidently communicating in secret. Whatever was said on the other end prompted Gu Ling to adopt a serious facade, assuring, "Rest assured, I am not foolish enough to reveal my true feelings in front of them." When he hung up and turned around, he was startled to find me standing behind him, a flicker of panic in his eyes that quickly morphed into composure. "How could you eavesdrop? When did you arrive?" I stared at him, wishing I could deliver a resounding slap to the version of myself that had once loved him so profoundly. How had I been so blind to fall for such a shameless man? Sensing the intensity of my gaze, he feigned magnanimity, sighing, although today's wedding did not occur. I promise you a grand ceremony once I secure my position as the heir of the Gu family. I couldn't help but laugh, a derisive sound. You, a mere illegitimate child, dare to aspire to be the heir of the Gu family? His eyes blazed crimson at my words, for he detested being labeled as such. Wretch! He spat, lunging toward me and gripping my throat. Stop! What are you doing? A furious voice echoed nearby. It was Gu father. Gu Ling quickly released his hold, wrapping his arms around my waist to signal me to remain silent. Gu father approached, and, before Gu Ling could utter a word, he raised his hand and delivered a resounding slap to Gu Ling's face, leaving 5 distinct marks that quickly swelled. Dad, Gu Ling began, but Gu father interrupted. Don't call me that. I have no son like you. Enraged, he refused to listen to any explanations. Gu Ling, in a panic, cast a pleading glance my way, hoping I would intervene on his behalf. The gradual improvement in their father-son relationship had been facilitated by my mediating efforts. Yet Gu Ling mistakenly believed it was solely his own doing. Especially after Gu Deshao fell into a coma, he fancied himself the sole heir, believing Gu father would support him. I finally spoke up. Uncle, are you aware that he has re-established contact with his biological mother? The moment the words left my lips, it was as if I had stirred a hornet's nest. Gu Ling shot me a murderous glare, while Gu father's fury intensified, delivering another slap to Gu Ling, shouting, What promise did you make to me? Why are you still in contact with that wretch? What do you consider your vow to be? Like the northwesterly wind. I silently mused. Gu father despised Gu Ling's biological mother not because of any infidelity on his part, but because she had deliberately ensnared him, drugging his drink to manipulate him. Gu father and Gu mother had been childhood sweethearts, perfectly matched, and after 30 years of love, they had welcomed a lovely son. Yet during this time, Gu Ling's mother had set her sights on Gu father, repeatedly attempting to disrupt their marriage. After being rejected, she resorted to drugging him, leading to an unwanted encounter. Following that, she had taken delight in sending a video to Gu mother, who was then pregnant with their second child. The shock caused her to miscarry and nearly cost her life on the operating table. Had Gu Ling's mother not fled swiftly, both she and the unborn child would have met a tragic end. I had learned of this incident from Gu mother when I was advocating for Gu Ling, arguing that he had grown up devoid of parental love and support. Gu mother, being a good person, agreed to let Gu Ling return to the family as a gesture of gratitude for my kindness. Yet Gu Ling was clearly insatiable. He not only aspired to be the sole heir but also sought to reintegrate his biological mother into the Gu family. Gu Ling hastily defended himself. Dad, you misunderstood. I haven't contacted her. I pointed at his phone, then call back that number you just dialed. His gaze turned venomous. Just because I refused to marry you, you want to drive me to despair? How shameless. Gu father delivered another slap across his face, demanding, Who is truly shameless? You refuse to marry her yet act as if you are the innocent one. It's all someone else's fault. Clearly, you are not worth raising. Gu Ling endured several more slaps in silence, fearful of provoking his father further. Recognizing that Gu father intended to disown him, he dropped to his knees, pledging his loyalty. Dad, I admit my mistakes. Please grant me a chance to amend my ways. I will never contact that woman again. I will delete her number right now. Gu father snorted derisively and turned to leave. Left in despair, Gu Ling grasped my skirt, adopting a pitiful expression as he implored, You must help me. You are all I have left. A person only falls for the same trick once. He had exhausted his chances. I ignored him and turned to leave. He chased after me, and I retaliated by delivering a kick to his groin. He collapsed, howling in pain. I sent a message to Gu mother, warning her to be cautious of her daughter, and left the Gu family villa without looking back. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The Gu family's eldest son showed no signs of awakening. My parents called me back, but I fabricated an excuse to avoid returning. They called me in a state of frantic anger, demanding to know whether I had employed some trickery to break the curse on the earrings. At this point, they had abandoned any pretense, having consulted a master who declared that the curse had indeed been lifted, rendering the peachwood hairpin ineffective as well. My sister's plan to awaken the young master of the Gu family using the hairpin had utterly failed. Faced with their accusations, I countered with a question. If it were not for your machinations against me, how could the hairpin have lost its potency? You chose not to treat me as a person first. The outcome you now endure is what you deserve. Since the curse on the earrings has been broken, return them, for they belong to your sister. I let out a cold laugh, stating that they were heirlooms from my grandmother. And did they truly believe I was oblivious to the truth? There are still elder relatives in the family who can attest to this. We are not dead yet. When did it become your turn to inherit? They exclaimed, threatening to sever ties and forbidding me from calling them mom and dad. They often resorted to such threats. However, I was no longer swayed by their intimidation and found it more of a burden. Very well, if you choose not to call, then let us sever all ties. On the other end, they erupted in fury, my father bellowing, "You have been abandoned by the second young master of the Gu family. Do you still fancy yourself a wealthy lady?" I warned him, "If you do not return the earrings, I will expose you to the media, rendering you disgraceful." "Feel free to do so, I care not," I retorted before ending the call. That night, while sipping wine on my bedroom balcony, I suddenly heard the sound of a lock being picked at the door. It was already midnight. I promptly called the property management to request security assistance and alerted the police simultaneously. By then, the intruder had managed to unlock the door. Terrified, I quickly locked my bedroom door and hid on the balcony. The thief entered and began rummaging through my belongings. My heart raced, and I dared not make a sound, fearing the thief might be armed. The property management and security arrived swiftly, and I maintained contact with them. Just as the thief attempted to pry open the bedroom door, security burst in and subdued him in a matter of moments. The lights flickered on, revealing the thief's identity, my cousin. He hastily declared, "I was sent by her parents to check on her. I am not a thief." "No, he is indeed a thief, here to steal my earrings," I accused. "You wretched girl, if I end up in prison, the first thing I shall do upon release is to kill you," my cousin spat viciously. I asked, expressionless, "Did they send you to steal my earrings?" My cousin had a penchant for petty thievery, and it was plausible that my father had coerced him into this act. His gaze darted nervously. "What nonsense are you spouting? I know nothing of any earrings. I simply came to visit you, as your dear cousin. How could I possibly steal from you?" The security personnel were barely suppressing their laughter. It was the dead of night, and he claimed to have come to play? "You can explain yourself to the police," I said. At that moment, the police arrived, and my cousin's bravado waned. He quickly confessed. "It was your father who instructed me to steal your earrings. It's all his fault. I was merely assisting him." He was promptly taken away by the police. In the latter half of the night, my phone was bombarded with calls from both my cousin's parents and my own. But I simply removed my SIM card and ignored them all. The following morning, they surrounded my home, demanding an explanation. I had already moved in with a friend, leaving them empty-handed. My cousin's parents, enraged and without an outlet for their frustration, took it out on my parents, resulting in a scuffle between the two families. At the Gu residence, Gu mother called me, requesting my presence. Upon my arrival, I found my sister kneeling on the floor, her face a tapestry of tears and snot. Beside her lay a small black box containing several dark, squirming insects. After your reminder, I had people keep a close watch on her. Initially, she feigned spirituality, waving a peachwood hairpin over my son, but when that proved ineffective, she resorted to secretly feeding him these insects. Thankfully, my people intervened in time. I have had it confirmed that these are not any sort of magical creatures, but rather deceitful little poison bugs. Once ingested, the victim will bleed from the mouth and perish within 2 days, Gu mother stated with a grim expression. My sister sobbed. I had no idea that person was deceitful. I genuinely wished for the young master to awaken. For your sake, I will not make things difficult for her, but she must never appear before me again, Gu mother declared. I nodded in agreement, expressing my gratitude. Unwilling to accept her fate, my sister attempted to speak, but a servant covered her mouth and dragged her away. Later, I learned that she had been beaten, her mouth bloodied, and a leg broken. This was indeed a lesson for her. The peachwood hairpin was returned to my possession. Observing the young master of the Gu family in his slumber, alongside Gu mother's graying hair, I made a wish upon the hairpin. If you truly possess any spiritual power, may you awaken the young master. Yet, no miracle transpired, even as I departed. He remained in an unbroken slumber. A week later, Gu Ling was expelled from the Gu family, his whereabouts unknown. Some claimed he had been drowned. But the truth remained elusive. My parents and my cousin's family clashed several times. My cousin was imprisoned for half a month and upon release, incessantly sought compensation from my parents. They were at their wits' end and ultimately relocated back to the countryside, as did my sister. The fall of such a prominent young lady is indeed a tale of lament. A month later, on a certain bright morning, Mother called me. Unable to contain her excitement. My son has awakened. The sun shone brilliantly, teeming with life. I smiled softly. How wonderful. At that moment, the peachwood hairpin lost its last glimmer of light. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next tale.